Hello and welcome to EGW Writing's Tech Tips. I'm your host, Daryl Thompson. Thank you for joining us today in another of our series on learning how to use the new EGW Writings 2 app for Android. What we're going to take a look at today is search, and I'm going to give you an overview of all the little features of how you can use EGW Writings, and actually there's some help tutorial in there that you can follow through as well to learn how to use it. And by the end of the tutorial, hopefully you know the basics of search within EGW Writings. Well, let's dive right in. Search is probably one of the major areas of this app that people like to use EGW Writings for. Now, EGW Writings, I strongly advise that you use search very carefully and judiciously. Most people, when they use the app, use it for just looking a passage up or a quote that a pastor or a teacher or a lesson has brought up, and then they go on their merry way. If you truly want to completely understand the writings of Ellen White, you need to enjoy the whole book. So let's say, for example, we were opening up Acts of the Apostles or Patriarchs and Prophets. That's just part of the great conflict series or the great controversy between Christ and Satan that goes from heaven to the New Jerusalem right through Genesis to Revelation. And you need to read, Patriarchs and Prophets, Prophets and Kings, Desire of Ages, Acts of the Apostles, the great controversy to understand the whole context of a writing. If you just take a quote, that could be completely out of context. If someone gives you a quote, at least if you're going to look it up. So say I come into here and I type in the greatest want. All right, so I'm going to click on the greatest one. And I'm going to click on search. And I get up the search results here. And I can come up here and I can go through and say, okay, the greatest want. There we go, education, page 57. And I can take this quote, the greatest want is the want in the world is the want of men who will not be bought or sold, men who in their inmost souls are true and honest, men who do not fear to call sin by its right name, men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle is to the pole, men who will stand for the right, though the heavens fall. But if you're given a quote in something, I advise that you always go and at least at a minimum read the context. Great if you read the whole chapter, because the chapter is full of wisdom, full of teaching us as God's people how to live a Christian life and follow his principles. That quote is like the core of the chapter, but it's just a few words. Why not read the whole chapter? So don't just do yourself a disservice by just reading quotes. Fill yourself up. It's sort of like taking a few crumbs from the table without eating the whole meal. You are best to read everything. If you can read the whole book, Education, all the better. If not, read at least the chapter, not just the quote. Anyway, let's get into search. So we're going to say in the app we want to do search. And as I just said to you and implored with you, use search judiciously. It's great to be able to navigate to a book, find a quote that someone's quoting in the sermon, but when you find the quote, please always make sure you read the context and read the chapter if you can. Now you can use search to navigate around. It's quite useful. If I want to go to a particular book, like we were talking about Patriarchs and Prophets before, I can type PP, click on the magnifying glass, and I'm right there at Patriarchs and Prophets. If I wanted to jump across and go to Steps to Christ, I can type SC for Steps to Christ, but maybe I don't know the book code, so I can just type out Steps, oops, I need to put in the P, Steps to Christ. All right, and I click on the search, and it's going to take me directly to the book. Now, once you've gone to the book, it's great at the end of the paragraph here, you can actually see the book code. So after you use the app more and more and more, you'll start to learn the book codes, and you can navigate around the apps much quicker. So if you tap on here, and I tap on the little search magnifying glass there, and then I tap on here, say I want to go to Education, page 57, put the space, and then the page number that you want to go to, and you hit search, and it will bring us to 57, which down here in paragraph 3 was the quote that I mentioned just a minute ago, the greatest one of the world. So that's how you can use search to actually navigate to a book, a page, and if I even, so let me just scroll back up here. If I actually put in .3, it would have taken me directly to the book, page, and paragraph. So I can do ed space 57.3, and you say, well, how do you know all that? That's not a problem, because when I click on the little search magnifying glass, see at the top here, the little tiny question mark there? If I tap on the question mark, see how it lists out all of the help search syntax. It's listed right there for you to be able to use. How did I get there again? All you do is you tap on search, and you can get to search from the side menu. You can get to search also from tapping search at the top there. And when I tap it on the top there, I'm here in the search. If I'm in the main menu, search is right here. Okay, so search opens it up. If I want to get to the help in the header, you see the question mark. You tap the question mark and it loads all of the search help syntax for you. Now, beside the little question mark, there is what you can see is like a little globe with meridians and latitudes there, right? And if I tap on that, that puts my app into offline mode. That's what that one is. And I've already explained what the home is. That takes you back to your home screen, the main menu. Now, when I come in here and I do a search, let's say for a word. So say here I come in, I'm searching for faith. And when it loads, what it does is it's going to load in chronological order through the tree. But you say, I want it to be more like Google. I want it to give a relevancy-based quote. Well, we have that as well. So see the little up and down arrows here, the little filter? You tap there and I can choose weighted relevancy. Now, why would I choose weighted relevancy over relevancy? What weighted relevancy does is it puts Ellen White quotes first before it puts in quotes from scripture or reference or the Adventist Pioneer Library. Now you say, well, how do I know what I'm in? Well, if I come back here and sort by relevancy, okay, you'll notice as I scroll through the relevancy, okay, there's one from red. So if it's from scripture, it's going to be red. If it's from, let's see if I can see another one. Okay, there's another red one. I'm hoping I come across another color here. All right. If I put in another word, let's say I put in a word like an Australian word. So may I put in like where I'm from, Sydney, and I do a search, say, for Sydney. Okay, and I come up here and I choose all collections. You'll notice now that there's a reference in there, and that's yellow. And you notice that there's green here, which is Adventist Pioneer Library. The blue is EGW. And is there any more scripture ones? No, there's not going to be Sydney in scripture, of course. We went and saw that before, and that's red. So you know the different collections that you are in depending on the color code. So you can be assured, if it's in blue, that it's from an Ellen White quote. All right. So let's come back. And let's say also in the next filter, you can see I want to see just the search results coming from earliest first. Now, when I do earliest first, you can notice that it's bringing up this word Sydney that I typed from the reference collection. But if I come back into my first word that I was searching for, I can see it on my history. I just type faith. And if I want to switch from all collections through to EGW collections, you can see how it filters that out for me. So you have here 3 rows of filters. This is my collection filter, and I can go to a book, or I can come in here and go to lifetime works. And now that only gives me books from 1844 through to 1917. Now, Ellen White did die in 1915, but Prophets and Kings was in manuscript form, and it wasn't published in its final form until 1917 by her son and secretary, Willie White. And then you can say, well, I just want to look at compilations. I can filter just compilations collection, or maybe I want to get down and just see what the Bible has, and now it just filters within the Bible. So that's where my collection filter is at the top. The next one over here is I can particularly filter within elements within that collection. So like I'm in English, and say I expand EGW writings, If I double click on English, it unselects everything, and I can just select devotional books, and I can filter now to just look for the word faith within devotional books. And if I want to come back and go over here and I want to say latest first, then it will resort these devotional books from the last devotional book that we have posted in here, which should have been in 2015, yes. So you can see here in the top where I've got the result number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The next in the line, it says EGW, and that's the author. 2015, that's the year it was published. HB is the book code, Homeward Bound. The page number, 146, paragraph 4. So that's how you can identify in your search snapshot where the quote is from, the author, the page, and the published date. So that's the little filter along there. And then the last filter, as I went through before, you can sort in here within your content sequence. You can sort in your weighted relevancy, weighted relevancy is a great little one because it is like Google, but it puts, as I said, Ellen White quotes first, where relevancy will do it from all. Now, another thing which is very useful down here is, let's say, for example, that I don't know fully the word that Ellen White used. Then we have what we call root match, exact match, and the combination, which is a default. So in exact match, it's only going to find the word faith. So if I go through here, and you can notice that I have, for the word faith, 101,458, where I have the exact match. If I look at the root word match, then it's going to come up for words like faithful, faithfulness. And you can see here that I have 26,457. And then if I click on the exact match and root word, it'll combine those two numbers together and get 127,000 results. But if I'm looking for a particular word and I didn't quite get it right in the way that I typed it, it looks at the database of other Ellen White's words in the root of that word that you may have typed and gives you other suggestions. So that's the useful part. But if you always want an exact match, you can come in here and click that, and it will only show those results. But the good thing is it shows the exact matches first and then the root matches second. So that is essentially the little filter elements that we've run through along the top on search. Now, there's many other types of searches and things you can do. And something that may confuse people is, let's say, for example, I come into the book education, it's going to open it up. But maybe I don't want to look for the book education and open it up. I want to search for the word education. You just tap in here, and then it says here, search text education. You just tap that. It brings up now, all within Ellen White's writings, the word education. If I want to sort and say, well, I just want to see that in the earliest first, it will resort the list, and now I have it in the earliest first results. Okay, if I want to see everywhere, instead of just the book education, it will now sort all these from the earliest forms, which is going to be the pamphlets. And as we go through, because they're not listed with a date, as I get past the pamphlets, down in here, well, there's a lot of results in the pamphlets. Okay, there we go. So now we're in the Testames and these early volumes. But if I come back in here and sort like latest first, it should come up here, and Principles for Christian Leaders that we released in 2018. And it can go through the word education from here. All right, so that's basically how you can switch for like searching for a word. But maybe I want to search for a phrase like I did before. Now, what was the phrase that I searched before? The greatest one. Now, that is an individual. It tried to bring the most relevant quote in a phrase near the top in our new phrase search, but I can actually put double quote marks around that, and you say, well, how do I know to do that? Because up in here, see how I can do a phrase search? And it gives me my example there like I showed. And if I do a phrase search here, and I do a search for that, the results that come back will only be a phrase. Now, if I want to say, okay, I want to look for this quote just within a particular book, I can come up here, I can go education, the greatest one, and now it will only give me the one result that I'm after in the book Education. You say, how did I know to do that? Once again, I'll refer you back to the search help here, in which it's giving you example of searching for words within the book Education. I hope that this tutorial on learning how to use search from the EGW Writings 2 app on Android has been useful to your experience, because search is something that is so important that you use correctly. When you're looking for a book, that's fine. If you're looking for a quote, I strongly advise, like I said in the tutorial, that you try to read the context around the quote that you have searched for. Don't just take a quote out of context. Make sure if you're preparing a study or preparing a sermon or preparing just a quote to share on social media or just using it for your own personal use, make sure that you read the chapter if you can, and if not, at least read the page, because that will give you the full understanding of what that passage is meant to be telling you, and not just, you can take any passage out of context. So I'm just stressing that very important point, that you read the context always within Ellen G. White's writings. And if possible, try to read the whole chapter or even the whole book. It'll be much more meaningful to you if you do that. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm Darrell Thompson. Have a nice day.